America True.
Journey to the Center of the Earth, starring Brendan Fraser of Estonia. Both of these are filed under Adventure at the Center of the Earth and recreate two action sequences from the movie. Neither are imaginatively titled, with the first being called Ride the Minecart. In this one you ride the minecart, as viewed from a first-person perspective. Arrows pop up on screen and you have to press that direction in time or you'll fly off the rails, much like Brendan Fraser's career. Luckily, you can retry as many times as you want and make a recovery much like Brendan Fraser has done on television. Good on you, Brendan. There are 3 rounds, with it getting faster and more intense each time, and I mean it gets intense. Things get super speedy to the point where it feels like a roller coaster. If you succeed, you'll get a little message that changes depending on how many times you had to retry, and that's it. I quite liked this one. It reminded me of old FMV games like Road Avenger on the Sega CD. The directions you press are the same every time, so there isn't much replayability once you've done a perfect run, but it's fun while it lasts. The second game is called Bat the Fish, which is also the name of one of my favourite childhood pastimes. Anyway, this is very similar to the first game, except you're on a raft and vicious fishes jump up at you. Again, directions come up on screen so you know which way to swing your paddle, and again, there are 3 stages, but the difficulty increases in this one by having the waves get higher, the fish attacks become more frequent, and fish jump around in the background to try to distract you. I didn't find this one as good as the minecart game, especially since the prompts make the distractions easy to ignore, but it was still a fun time. As for the movie, it's okay. It's an action adventure, and while it does have a lot of action and also light 2000s era comedy, the adventure is a bit lacking. What I mean is, for a movie about exploring a whole new world hidden inside the planet, there isn't much sense of wonder and discovery, even less so than the original book by Jules Verne, and that didn't have the benefit of cool 3D effects. Oh yeah. This movie was made back when 3D films were the hip new thing, so there are things constantly flying at the camera. At one point, Brendan Fraser spits on you in 3D, so if you have ever wanted that, and let's face it, who hasn't, then this is the movie for you. So yes, there are worse ways to spend an hour and a half, but I wouldn't put it on top of your to-watch list, or even around the middle of your to-watch list. So, would I recommend this DVD? Well, yes and no. I think the games really are quite fun, but they aren't substantial enough to own the DVD just for them, and the movie itself is pretty average too. But if you happen to like the movie more than me, or if you're a Brendan Fraser fanatic, then I would definitely recommend it. Otherwise, give it a pass. World Championship Darts Interactive DVD. I was excited about this one because from the back of the box it sounded like it would have a lot of personality, mainly in the cartoon characters the players can pick, such as the American Dirk Eagleburger and the Australian Shane Wallaroo. Sadly, those names and the character designs are as far as the personality goes. To the developers' credit, they did a pretty good job with this game. There are 5 different darts games on offer, it supports up to 4 players, there are multiple throwing methods available, with the best one being where the board is swept and you have to time your inputs correctly, and they even let you adjust the timing of the DVD just in case it's a bit off on your player. That's a huge problem with some other DVD games, so it's very appreciated that they let you tweak it. But in the end, even with the swish production values, it doesn't feel much more exciting to play than a Flash game, and I'd rather play a more fully realised darts game or, you know, the real thing. Hold to the Rod, Book of Mormon, Edition 2. This is unfortunately not based on the musical Book of Mormon, but instead is based on the actual Book of Mormon. I'm not going to comment on the religion itself, I'll just say that I know people who left it, and the things they told me about it are troubling to say the least. Anyway, this is one of the most low-budget DVD games I've played to date. It feels like it was designed in Microsoft PowerPoint, and the aesthetic is basically that graphic design is my passion meme. Having said that, there is a lot of spoken dialogue which is nice, even if it's all very Utah. The game also offers a solo mode which is like a rapid fire quiz, but the main attraction is of course the multiplayer mode. This is pretty decent for what it is. There are quite a few categories to choose from, in addition to multiple difficulty levels. Like most quiz DVDs, there are special events that pop up, with the ones featured here being especially Mormon. One of them, for example, asks if anyone on your team quote-unquote helped someone the previous day. You better hope someone did, otherwise you lose a massive 3 points. There are also scripture chases, where everyone grabs their books of Mormon and race to be the first to find a specific scripture. Is it Mormon in here, or is it just this game? Oh, I should mention that there are no multiple choices here, but you are allowed to reference your own copy of the Book of Mormon, so make sure to keep it handy. One more thing, this DVD does have one very nice feature, and that it lets you choose the length of the game. More DVD games really needed this. So yes, it has the same basic design and issues as most other quiz DVD games, but with a very Mormon theme slapped on top. Oh, and terrible production values, but surprisingly solid options. Derby Day. I'm hugely against horse racing for animal welfare reasons, but luckily, this game doesn't use real ones. Instead, it uses hilariously bad CG horses. The game comes with a stack of paper money to bet with, which just makes a mess in the DVD case, as well as lucky horseshoes which players can use once a game to double their winnings. If a horse you bet on comes in last, you are awarded the wooden spoon and get your bet back, so even losers can sort of win? I enjoyed the personality of this one a lot. The horses in all 8 races have very silly names such as Scenic Bottom and My IQ, and there are even a few good gags from the commentator as each horse is introduced. The only problem with the introductions is that you can't skip them, which really sucks when you replay the DVD, as while the races will have different results, it's the same gags every single time. So yes, if you want to bet on fake horses with fake money, this could be a bit of fun. Just remember not to support the actual horse racing industry. Carol Vorderman's Sudoku DVD game. Remember when Sudoku took over the world? This DVD does. It's hosted by math whiz Carol Vorderman, best known for her role on Countdown before she was replaced with someone much younger and much stupider. This DVD actually has an introduction to Sudoku in addition to tips and tricks, all presented by Vorderman herself. I didn't know anything about Sudoku at all before watching them, and now I fully understand the puzzles and even think they look like fun. I better not say that too loudly though, I may set off the nerd alert. Anyway, this is basically competitive speed Sudoku. Each player gets the same puzzle and try to fill in a certain square before anyone else each round. They do this 9 times, and then the 10th round is a race to finish the entire remaining puzzle. The players can only flip over and look at the puzzle when a timer is running to stop them from solving it too quickly. There are 2 game modes. In the first mode, everyone plays exactly the same puzzle. In the second mode, everyone still plays the same puzzle, but people who are newer to Sudoku can opt for an easier version of it with more numbers already filled in. I think this is a nice way to even out the playing field. The game comes with a pad full of the puzzles, and you can print more off if you stick the DVD in your PC. So yes, I think this is a solid product for what it is, but I don't see myself having any Sudoku parties. On the other hand, I bet they would all end up turning into orgies. Math people are always so randy. Oh, I forgot to mention that you can play it solo and try to beat Carol Vorderman's times. And I do realise that I've been pronouncing Sudoku wrong for most of this video. Hold to the Rod. Name that tune edition. Look, don't ask me why I bought another Mormon DVD game in the same series as the last one. So this game has the same production values as the previous game, but of course this time it's all about identifying hymns rather than knowing your scriptures. Players will be asked how many notes they want to hear before being able to guess, with fewer the notes awarding more points if the answer is correct. Amazingly, you can choose to hear just 2 notes. Are there really people who can guess hymns based on that? Surely there are multiple songs that start the same, but maybe I'm just not Mormon enough to get it. If you end up needing a clue, you can get one at the cost of half the potential points awarded, which is a nice feature. And like the previous game, there are also random events that pop up now and then. So yes, another low production value DVD game for the Mormon in your life. Deal or no deal? Most countries have a version of Deal or No Deal, but if you're unfamiliar with it, it's basically a game show of chance and risk versus reward. This is based on the Australian version and is much more low-key than the more famous American rendition, which is how we like things. It's hosted by Andrew O'Keefe, a Z-list celebrity who also hosted the actual show. I used to like him because although he was a bit of a wanker, he was at least an entertaining one. Sadly, he's recently been in a lot of trouble after assaulting people, including his former partner, and it's come out that he has mental illness problems in addition to heavy drug addiction, but that is no excuse for assault. I do hope that he, and all the other people involved, get the help that they need. Okay, enough depressing stuff. So this plays exactly like the game show. You pick a suitcase at the start of the game, and then open up a bunch of others which contain different monetary values, with the hopes of knocking out the smaller ones so that when you're made an offer, it's a big chunk of cash. Alternatively, you can play right to the end and get whatever was in the case you picked at the start of the game. This is for 2 players, though each basically plays separate games, and my friend and I had way too much fun with it. We know that it's incredibly shallow and that there are no actual stakes, but it was still exciting seeing what was inside each briefcase as we tried to win as much money as we could without getting too greedy and losing it all. The winner, of course, is the player who ends up bringing home the most fake cash. So yes, I think this is a fun DVD game, and it's a game that suits the format well. I also imagine it would be even more fun while being a little drunk. It's also worth mentioning that they release different versions for many different regions, so hopefully you can find one with a less problematic host.
Sweet 16, that's exactly what I was thinking.
All new, now that's what I call a music quiz 2. This is the follow-up to the original Now That's What I Call a Music Quiz, and it's a vast improvement over the original, which dragged on for far too long and played way too slowly. This one is much snappier, and the game modes don't drag on for nearly as long, and in fact, there's one mode designed specifically for very quick games. The first mode has players climb the top 40 chart, with whoever getting to number 1 first being the winner. It will give players the choice of a few different categories, each giving the player a different amount of spaces they can move upon providing a correct answer. To move up the most spaces, players have to select the mystery category, which will give a random question, so it's a bit of a risk since you don't know the category, plus sometimes they are accompanied by a random event such as moving down spaces if the players get the question wrong. There are also other events that can happen which can affect the active player or other players, so there is a bit of take that and luck, making it feel like a 90s family board game. There are also a decent variety of categories and question types. And then there is a mode where players have to answer questions in different categories in order to get a platinum record in that category, and the first player to complete their record collection wins. I didn't get far with this one as it kept glitching out on me. It could be my DVD player, or the game is just broken. Finally, there is a mode where a picture is slowly revealed, and the first person to buzz in and identify the artist wins the round. This one plays very quickly. So yes, it's definitely an improvement over the original, but still nothing spectacular. It also has the usual problem of questions getting asked again pretty quickly. Like the last game in the series, it's very UK centric with the questions, so keep that in mind. I certainly never heard of a lot of the girl bands mentioned on this DVD. Also, the UK must have had the highest amount of girl bands in the world. If this game is anything to go by, a new one was formed every week. It could be a fun way to spend an evening with like-minded friends, but as with most of these DVDs, don't pay more than a few bucks for it.